You're live!
Even though it's sideways, it's good.
Yeah, told him to put it sideways.
Oh, okay. Hooray! Oh yeah, we are live. It popped up on my notification. So now we're live on both YouTube and Instagram. Hooray! Okay. Um. So let's see. We had a late shipment because, well,
Reasons?
yeah, apparently like there was a weather problem with all the shipments, so everything came late. We rushed things out. This was the big week for Detective Comics 1000. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but we're going to go through our reviews. And one of the things we're going to review real fast is this War of the Realms freebie that we've got in our store. So if you want a War of the Realms wrap up, come get this. But there was a couple of things of note that we wanted to discuss. We already did a War of the Realms breakdown. It's on our YouTube.
Yep.
And it's clearly labeled. But there was a few things that we weren't covered by that. One of the things is that Howard the Duck is going to be in War Scrolls, which is a pretty big deal to me. Let's see what else. Daredevil apparently is filling in for Heimdall. Apparently he gets to be the God of Fear, so yeah, that's why he's got Heimdall's sword. He's got control of Bifrost, and it's just weird. The God of Fear, the God without fear. Oh, I thought they were saying the God of Fear, God without fear, because Daredevil's the man without fear. Got it. So he's filling in as a god. He's filling in as Heimdall. So that's something. They've got preview of other comics in this. One of which is as Guardians of the Galaxy. I just can't be bothered to care. I don't. Hi. We're doing a movie right now. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. I'll talk to you later. You can stay here. No, it's fine. You can come in if you want. You come on, man. Just come on. Hey, you're fine. Sorry. My buddy Anthony's here. Okay, so let's see. There's that. I can't be bothered to care about as Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know. It's not really my cup of tea. I've tried that comic several times and I just couldn't get into it. Let's see what else we got going on. The Journey into Mystery Stuff. That's the Miles Morales, Kate Bishop, and I guess the McElroys, the old cowboy heroes, are in this somehow. And we call that the Adventures in Babysitting comic. The preview for this, it looks okay at best. I wouldn't say it's the best thing, but I'm kind of intrigued. I'm probably still going to read it because I want to know how the McElroys play into this. We've also got the breakdown of stuff. Asgard, you know what Asgard is. If you don't know what Asgard is, well, it's Thor's home. We've got Svartalfheim. This is, I guess, home of the Dark Elves. We've got Alfheim. This is realm of the Light Elves. We've got Jotunheim. This is where the Frost Giants live. We've got Muspelheim. Okay. Eternal Flames, volcanoes, rivers of lava, and fire demons. The Queen of Cinder and Fire God. So I'm guessing that's their version of hell. Although hell is a place too. In Norse mythology. Well, anyways, okay, so Niflheim, this is low on the world tree, the frozen underworld of Niflheim, okay. And we've got Nidavellir. Nidavellir is the misty mountainous land of the dwarves. We've got Vanaheim, home of Vanir, the wise gods of old, as well as such creatures as rock trolls and ogres, okay. We've got Heaven, which is Heven, but oddly enough, long ago banished by Odin. It is the 10th realm and home to the deadly warriors of angels. Okay. And then Midgard, which, Midgard is Earth. So during the event, Midgard is referred to as Earth. There are a couple other books that are tied into War of the Realms that we didn't have in the preview book. I think they're pretty much of note. There's going to be a Captain Marvel one, and then there's going to be a Deadpool one. So we're sorry we didn't cover that while we were previewing all the books, but we didn't know they were coming. Keep in mind, the Deadpool one looks like it's written by Scotty Young, so it should be darn good. And then the Captain Marvel's Kelly Thompson. Let's see. It says no corner of the world will be untouched by this. The armies of hell have arrived. Should be fun. Oh, and we got one cool image right here. It looks like Venom, which if you know about what's going on with Eddie Brock and Venom right now, Brock might not be in the symbiote, or tied to the symbiote. But yeah, it looks like It looks like the Venom symbiote is caught by Malekith. So that's wild. What else? There's a nice picture of the Avengers cover, which is the wraparound. Then we're going to do Spider-Man The League of Realms, which is kind of wild. Superior Spider-Man has a book tied to it too. They didn't cover that in the preview book, so that's fine. And then we need to talk about this because this is pretty interesting. The new Agents of Atlas has these new characters. We were laughing about the names: Arrow, Swordmaster, and well, there's another character that I'm leaving out. But we need to talk about their art direction because these look very, very anime. Like that is very clearly an anime character, I think. And Arrow is no doubt an anime character, so yeah, Marvel's getting wild with it. Although I hate Swordmaster's name, I think it's very uncreative. Have you seen this?
No.
How anime they are.
Who's that supposed to be?
New characters
For
War of the Realms.
what the?
Yeah. And then let's see what else we got going on here. The Fantastic Four, but it only shows 3 of them. We got a preview for the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, and then stuff on Giant Man and Tony Stark. So in the back of this, there's a whole list of the books, and it includes a bunch of stuff that we didn't get to cover as a thing. So apparently they added more titles to it. That's fine. This will be here if you want to preview. I think it previews about 3 to 4 books in it, and then it has like details from each of the authors or the writers explaining stuff like in detail about the stuff about the event. So come check this out. This will be free at our store. The next thing we're going to cover is the big one. This is what everybody wants to see this week, and that's Detective Comics number 1000. I'm sorry, it's backwards for some of you. But this is the wraparound cover. We've got the midnight release, which is that whole image, but like sideways. We've got books for every decade from 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, 1990s. We don't have 2000s. I don't know why they didn't show up, but we're gonna have to hopefully get them next week or the week after. We don't have any 2000s. They missed us. 2010s and current. So this one right here, which is Jim Lee. So, anyways, this book was pretty darn good. It was a good showing for 1000. It sort of plays out like Secret Files, which came out last year, where there is just a bunch of Batman-related short stories. Go figure. It's a giant trade paperback of a book. However, the last story will tie into main continuity right now, and is kind of important because there's something coming. I don't want to spoil it. You need to go out and pick this up. There was some really touching stories. There's some touching stories about old Oswald Copperpot later in life. There was a very cool story about the Bat family assembling for an event and what the event involved. And I had a really good time. A lot of these were they were pulled at the heartstrings a bit. So I really like this showing. It's a good showing for DC Comics, for Detective Comics number 1000. I don't know, go out and pick this up. It's $10, but the reality is you're getting a 96, almost 100-page trade paperback for $10. It's huge, and I think of all the books that we're gonna have on our shelves, this one is probably one of the most collectible. Reason being, we're at the 1,000 mark for Detective Comics. The only other book that ever hit the 1,000 mark that I know of was Action Comics, and I don't think we're ever gonna see these numbers again. Not in our lifetime for sure, and maybe never. Like with the comic industry being the way it is, they love to reboot things. They love to do it because people go out and they buy number ones. And so because of it, we've got just reboots, and reboot fatigue. So this might be the last 1,000 comic in history. So go out and pick this up. We have a few copies. We have some. Come get them as quick as you can, because they're not going to last. Next, we have Rat Queens, and this is the Orc Dave special, and this actually follows an interesting character. There are different dungeoneering teams, I guess you could say, in the Rat Queens universe, and when the first trade paperback or comic went off, basically, when the first comic went off, the Rat Queens were a team, there were other teams, and one of the teams was the Daves. That was just their name, the Daves. And one of them was Orc Dave, and he's grown into like a pretty stable and constant character in the Rat Queen's mythos. And so this centers around him and his first meeting with the Queens, and it was actually pretty good. I had a good time with this book. I didn't know I wanted more details on this character until I read this, and it was pretty outstanding. So Rat Queens is doing, I think, 4 or 5 one-shots this month. I think they're coming out like every week. So yeah, well, I think it's 4. But anyways, the first one-shot I kind of think was a little skippable. There were some cool parts, like they had the A-Team vehicle with a machine gun shooting a dragon, which was weird, but it was all like Rat Queen cyberpunk. It was like an alternate history thing. This one is main continuity Rat Queens, and the next one is pretty wild. It looks like it's going to be, I don't know, maybe some Alice in Wonderland weirdness. So, I don't know. I'm looking forward to the next one. I had a great time with that. I think everybody should be reading Rat Queens. If you have even the slightest fantasy kick, go out and read Rat Queens. Next, we're going to talk about Spawn. And so if you don't know, the Spawn comic picked up exactly where it left off. And so they're on issue 295. And basically, Spawn has pissed off both heaven and hell and has successfully locked Earth out to heaven and hell. So not only has he like locked demons and angels from coming and going, but he's locked all the demons and angels on Earth from leaving. And so everyone's pissed off at him. Meanwhile, he's discovered new powers, and one of the things he's learned is that he can bring things back from the dead. So he's got his own army himself. And he's basically unlocking new powers and getting more and more powerful, and it's been a wild ride, and it's put him in sort of a collision course with Vindicator, who is also known as Clown. So I think you should go pick this up. If you're remotely a Spawn fan, or you like any of that old McFarlane stuff, go pick this up. It's a great read. I don't recommend jumping in. I mean, this issue I think you'd be okay. 2 issues back was not a good jumping off point, so it was kind of confusing, but this would be okay. Next, we're going to talk about Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, Glow. So I used to watch this show Saturday morning as a kid. I think I remember I'd wake up and there'd be like Buster and me, and then Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, and then cartoons or something. And so that was just pretty much my Saturday morning routine. And I love this show, and it's nice to see these characters. And I think the Netflix series has sort of revitalized interest of it. So it was an okay read. I wouldn't say it's the best read. The characters are kind of wild, and I don't know them as well as I used to. So I was a little confused, but for a first book, it's a pretty good showing. If you like wrestling, or you like Glow in general, you like the Netflix series, like this is your jam. If you're anyone else and you don't care about wrestling or any of that stuff, you should probably skip this. So next we're going to talk about Sabrina the Teenage Witch. This is a #1. I liked the Archie Madhouse Sabrina. So this is not the Archie Madhouse. Don't confuse it with the Archie Madhouse. There's like the Jughead The Hunger, Vampironica. I think Sabrina was like actually the first title for Archie Madhouse. And now we've got the Cherry Twins 666, Blossom 666, I think it is. So this is not a Madhouse series. This is the same kind of sort of cheesy, lighthearted take on Sabrina, sort of like the 90s TV show. So if you like that sort of thing, it's pretty good. Hey, we got a phone call. Check that out. Oh, they picked it up in the back. We're good. Anyways, it was a pretty good read. I wouldn't say it rates up there with the current Archie run, which has Sabrina in it dating Archie. I think that book is a lot better. However, this is a strong showing for a first book. We've got quite a few, so come pick them up. If you like Sabrina, and that's your jam. If you like the darker stuff, come pick up the Sabrina trade. So, next we're going to talk about Rick and Morty mainline. And I haven't hid this. I did not think the Rick and Morty mainline was a very strong showing for a long time. I'm not sure what was going on. Writers were changing out. I'm sort of confused as to what was going on, but it wasn't a very good title to read. Then they did Rick and Morty Dungeons and Dragons, which was way stronger than the mainline stuff. And now there's this one, and I had a great time with this book. Honestly, I laughed 3/4 of the way through it, the whole thing. Most of the time, I laughed most of the way through it. And you know, with Rick and Morty being what it is, like that's what you should do. You should be laughing through these books. They shouldn't be a serious take. The humor shouldn't be flat, and it had been for quite some time. So this is a great book to jump in on the Rick and Morty stuff. If you like the Rick and Morty TV series, you can pick this up and you'll be perfectly at home. I promise you, this one in particular won't disappoint you. It's pretty funny. Next is Fight Club 3, and I have not hid my contempt for the end of Fight Club 2. I think I've warned everyone that I think Fight Club 2, I think you should go and read it, and I think you should look at the art, because the art is amazing, and the story was really, really, really good for about 7 issues, and then the last 3 were complete trash. It had the worst ending of many books I've read. I didn't like the ending at all. However, having a great time with the Fight Club 3 so far. This is the 3rd installment. So we come to find out that Tyler has a program that is infecting people and tattooing hearts on their neck after they get infected. And the program itself says that they have to go sleep with as many people as possible to infect other people. And if they don't get their numbers up, they'll be killed, I guess, is the take of it. So Tyler has instituted this program, I think, is how it's working out, and the main character, who this time is calling himself Balthazar. In the last Fight Club 2, he called himself Sebastian, and in Fight Club 1, his name was never given away, but it was sort of implied that he might be Jack. So in this one, it's kind of, something happens in this, and Jack and Tyler suddenly are on the same side, and a very violent, quick action takes place. It was a pretty good showing. I'm genuinely interested in this mystery, not just because Tyler is doing this whole virus infection thing, this weird sort of gamified spreading thing that's got going on, but there's a subplot happening here. One of the things that the Tyler Durden character never does, he's never about this. He doesn't like people being enslaved to corporatism. He doesn't like people being enslaved to sins of their father. He doesn't like people being enslaved to sort of the digital lifestyle, modern reality and such. He doesn't like that sort of thing. He wants people to sort of be free and be true to themselves. That's one of the things that the character is all about. He's never been about enslaving people. He lets people make their own choices. And that's Fight Club 1, that's Fight Club 2. But in this story, there is somebody enslaving people and doing it through a rather weird photograph that sort of like leads people to what looks like a paradise, and they all sort of walk into it. I think it's a painting, actually. They all walk into it, and then they wind up getting enslaved. So that's not Tyler doing that. That's not Balthazar, the other main character. There is a third group in play at this. And I think it's going to make Tyler and the main character sort of align, and Balthazar, the main character, align and go after whoever's doing this. So I think that's where they're going. We'll have to wait and see. But so far, Fight Club 3 has been a really strong showing. And the art, this Cameron Stewart, there is never anything to complain about Cameron Stewart's art. The art is, for lack of a better word, amazing. It's just absolutely stunning. So you really can't go wrong. If you buy books for art, Fight Club 3 is your jam. Next, Jughead The Hunger. And I really like the Archie Madhouse series. I really, really do. However, I think this book is going a bit far with what they did in this. I don't want to explain the twist. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I don't know why in these Madhouse lines that when they do something like change a character into a werewolf or a vampire, why they feel like they have to keep going with that and keep turning more and more people into werewolves and vampires and stuff like that. But that said, even though this book wasn't really my cup of tea and I don't think is a good jumping off point for most people, most of the Jughead The Hunger stuff is pretty good. I would say get a book before this or wait a book or two before you jump in. But Jughead The Hunger has been pretty darn good. I didn't think it was as strong a showing as Vampironica, because Vampironica really felt like a Buffy episode. This one, however, it's pretty good. It's okay. I don't think it's a good jumping off point. If you haven't been following Jughead The Hunger, wait an issue. Next, we're going to talk about Superior Spider-Man. And oh my God, Superior Spider-Man! I love everything about this book these days. If you don't know, Superior Spider-Man is currently operating out of San Francisco. He's basically a clone mixed of Otto Octavius and Peter Parker. He's been hanging out with his ex-girlfriend who figured out who he was and figured out that he cloned himself and put himself near her. So she was pretty mad at him. And meanwhile, he went and fought like a former, I guess somebody endowed with cosmic power, a former, God, what is the term? Herald of Galactus. That's what I was looking for. So so he fought it. It pretty much destroyed all of San Francisco. So meanwhile, they're trying to rebuild San Francisco, and Spider-Man is trying to help them. But being Superior Spider-Man, he's sort of full of himself, and that hang-up comes to light in this a lot. He's like advising people to stop worrying about like rescuing everyone and just work about rescuing a few people. And his girlfriend gets mad at him about that. She's like, you can't tell people that sort of thing. He's like, I just want them to use their assets properly. And she's like, don't do that. You like remove hope. So this is sort of him getting a lot of hope back. And it's funny. It's funny too because he's got a team of super criminals that he's kind of aligned himself to, and he's been using them to help. And one of them was a serial killer, so he sends them to go help somebody. And then his girlfriend's like, "Do you even know these people? Like it says on Google this person's a serial killer." And he's like, Are you serious?" and has to go and deal with that. It was great. All the Superior Spider-Man stuff that's coming out of there has been awesome, and it's nice to see Otto sort of start to get a heart and start to like grow as a character. Which there's a lot of room for growth with Otto. He's as perfect as he wants to believe he is. He's pretty flawed. Next is Shazam, and yes, we are a live comic shop, so we have customers in the store. That's kind of a thing that happens. Next is Shazam, and Shazam has been, pretty good. I don't want to say it's the best thing coming out of DC these days, but it's pretty good. If you want a good warm-up for the movie, this introduces a lot of the lands that they'll find at the Rock of Eternity. I think they've got the wild lands where everyone is like animals. They've got the monster lands, which are closed off. They've got the fun lands, which are like ran by kids and like they're sort of like Candyland and carnival stuff. And then they've got I can't remember them all, but basically all of the Shazam family has been separated. They're all like a couple of them are in game lands, a couple of them are in fun lands, a couple of them are in the wild lands, and they're sort of dealing with that and trying to come back together and trying to escape all the stuff that's hunting them. So this has been a pretty good read. More importantly, there is a villain that comes to light in this that, you know, if you know Shazam, you know this villain. He's pretty much his counterbalance, and I don't want to spoil what happens, but it's not out the way you think it is. So go check this out. Just if for anything else, in the Shazam title, the first time we've seen his counterpart is in here, and that's all I'm gonna say. So go read that for sure. Next is Invaders. I haven't really hidden that I didn't have the best time with this story, and I'm still not. I don't know what it is. I'm not liking the art. I'm not liking the way the story is going. I think it's just, since it's a throwback to the Invaders, it's a throwback to the older comics. So if you like the Invaders, you might like it. We have one customer who is like a giant fan of Namor. And as much as he loves Namor, even he was like, the Invaders is not the strongest of books. I did kind of, it was okay. It wasn't the best thing ever for me, but it was so-so. I did like the details we got on Namor. It was nice to see like something different coming from Namor's backstory, and so we know we're gonna find out a little more about it in the Invaders. So if you've been following the Invaders, great, good for you. Jump in. If you haven't been following the Invaders, I don't think this is the book you jump in on. I think you should wait a little bit, maybe, or pick it up in trade later when it comes out. Unless that's totally your cup of tea. If it is, so be it. Next is Goddess Mode. And Goddess Mode has been a really wild and surreal run. It's been a giant mix of cyberpunk and, I'm trying to think of what else. Cyberpunk, like fantasy, like they're all demons and And so and there's like a virtual world and a fantasy virtual world, and so it's been really surreal and kind of a wild ride, but it's been fun, and that's the most important thing. Not only has it been fun, but the art has been really, really spot on. And this is being written by Zoe Quinn, and the artwork is Robbie Rodriguez, and the cover is Rico Renzi. And it's still a strong showing. I'm still having a great time with this book. I don't think I would jump in on this book, though. If you haven't been following Goddess Mode, make it a point to go out and pick up the other books before you jump in on this. We've got quite a few of them. We might actually have all of them. So you want to come by and pick them up. But Goddess Mode is a super strong showing, which is... It kind of shocked me. I hadn't heard much from Zoe Quinn. I know she had done the Depression Quest game, and I think she was somehow at the center of the Gamergate controversy. But regardless of that, like I don't know politics, and I don't try to like dive into that sort of stuff. But as far as her writing is concerned, she's a very strong writer, and I had a great time with this book. Which kind of shocked me because I didn't know she wrote comics before this, but good showing. Next is Synergy, and Synergy is this is a Hasbro Creators Showcase, as it's being called, and I had a really good time with this. I think from what I heard that something about this book is going to be donated to some sort of women's movement, and it makes sense because all of the main characters in the story are women. It centers around Transformers, Jem. Let's see, Transformers, Jem, My Little Pony, and G.I. Joe. And so it has characters from each of those Hasbro brands. And what was wild was the My Little Pony one was like legitimately a writer talking about her love affair with My Little Pony as a kid, and then how she started writing My Little Pony episodes and characters and stuff like that, and building on like the lore for the next generation. And that was really touching. One thing I will say about this book is the stories are rather short, and they do a lot of good art filler in between the stories. But as thick as this book is, you should know that you're not getting like a full like story-filled thing. It's 3 or 4 pages of a story and then like 3 or 4 pages of art. So it's pretty good. I had a good time with it. Next is Heroes in Crisis, and God, these stories just do not stop. Like, I have such a good time with the Heroes in Crisis line. King is so good at this, and I love the art direction on this. And this is no different. In this one, it finally has the confrontation between Harley and Booster Gold. Both of them have seen the other as hurting people at Sanctuary in the last issue. They both saw... Harley thinks she saw Booster killing people. Booster thinks he saw Harley killing people. But they figured out that the corpses are all exactly 5 days older than they should be. So some kind of time travel is in play. And a lot of it, I wish I could tell you that a lot of the mysteries were answered about Heroes in Crisis in this issue. But honestly, the way Heroes in Crisis unfolds is every single time it unfolds, there's more mystery. And that's not a bad thing. The story has a lot of twists and a lot of humor too. Well, I can't spoil it for you, but the exchange between Batgirl and Blue Beetle is just hysterical in this book. And if for nothing else, you should be buying it for that. But go pick this up. I'm having, honestly, I think my favorite book of all of last year and this year has been Heroes in Crisis. I've liked this more than Doomsday Clock. And keep in mind, that last Doomsday Clock was, I would say, that's like the gourmet of comics. That was one of the best books I've read in a lot since Heroes in Crisis 1. But I still think the Heroes in Crisis line is a stronger showing these days. I don't know. That's just my cup of tea. Next is Street Fighter Minot. I didn't know there were Street Fighter comics. And more importantly, I have never heard of this Minot character. I don't know. I've been playing Street Fighter for a long time, but I think I stopped at Street Fighter 5 at the beginning because I don't know. I didn't like the game when I first got it for whatever reason. But this story has Minot. It has another character that I didn't recognize, her brother, and then it's got what's her name, Rose and Bison, and one other character that I recognize from Street Fighter 5, but I have not seen before that. Anyways, it was actually a pretty good story. I don't think it's super deep. It's sort of like, hey, let's go fight Bison. We got to resurrect someone. We got to ambush someone. And that's pretty much how it goes. And you know, the explanations for that stuff as well. We're using magic to ambush him. But still, pretty good time. I mean, if you like Street Fighter, you know there's gonna be fights, and you know there's gonna be that sort of Fighter drama between the characters, and that's what happens in this. So you know, as a Street Fighter fan, I am not disappointed by this book. But anyone else, I would say don't jump in on that comic if you expect anything else. Like all you're gonna get is the video game brand on that. Next is Freedom Fighters, and you know, I talked up Heroes in Crisis for a lot of reasons, but one of the characters in Freedom Fighter, this character Uncle Sam, I was the most excited for in this comic because last issue showed him coming back. The cover of this issue shows him crawling his way out of the grave, and yeah, you're gonna have to read it. It's great. I love the Uncle Sam character. I think that the Uncle Sam character, and indeed, I think he's a reference to Captain America, and I think his whole team is sort of a reference to the Avengers because there's like a guy named Condor that is that is clearly Falcon. There's a woman named Doll. Her name's Doll Woman, and you know she's clearly supposed to be like the Ant-Man take on it. Anyways, I've had the best time with Freedom Fighters, and I will say that the first book and then the second and third were a little weaker because they didn't have the Uncle Sam character because of what happened. But the fourth book was great, so you got to take from that what you will. I would say go pick up this line. I didn't know about these characters, to be honest with you. I got some history from Chuck Surface. These are the Quality Comic characters, which was a brand that was bought by DC that included Plastic Man. So that's where we got Plastic Man from. The same acquisition that got us these characters. So go check them out. Really strong showing from DC for that. And granted, you have to like cheesy Nazis because the Nazis in that book are terribly cheesy. So if that sort of cookie cutter build on evil bad guys is not your cup of tea, then that book is totally avoidable. Next is Dungeons and Dragons, and this is the Director's Cut edition. I didn't know what to expect from a Director's Cut edition, and it was pretty good. There's some pencil drawings. There are some times where they just do like ink showings, and then there are other times where they do like the regular colors sort of filled in. I don't think it added too much, but there's a lot of really good bonus art and sort of story direction pages at the end of the issue. So it was a pretty good showing. As somebody who really, really loved the Rick and Morty's D&D line, I would say this is a must-buy if you're a collector. If you liked that run, you picked up the trade paperback, you liked the trade paperback, come pick this up. It was pretty good. But me, I'm kind of weird. I like those sort of books that sort of give you the behind-the-scenes taste on both art and writers in the comic industry. So I had a great time with that. The next book we're going to talk about is Daredevil number 3. Daredevil has been, well, I didn't like the last run very much. Didn't have the best time with the last run. However, this one, I'm having a really good time. The art looks a lot like what's running with the Punisher right now. I sort of like that art direction. I don't know if it's the same artist. It could be. On top of that, the Daredevil's kind of a wanted man. He's sort of being wanted for a murder he didn't commit, which is it's a little tropey, but I like when heroes find themselves in that situation. And he's dealing with it. And all I'm going to say is that an ally of the Daredevil shows up and puts some stuff right, and it's who you want to see, or who I wanted to see anyways. So yeah, go check this book out. All issues 1, 2, and 3 have all been a strong showing. If you're a Daredevil fan, you know what to expect. If you're a Marvel fan, you should probably be jumping in on this because this is some good stuff. If you're a DC fan and you want to dip your toes in something that's Marvel, Daredevil is a great place to start right now. Next is Black Panther, and all of this is a build-up to the War of the Realms event, which has been pretty good build-ups. I've had a good time with this. This one, however, I mean, they announced it on the cover, but I don't know if that means that the Black Panther is going to be a part of War of the Realms. I didn't see his book listed, and currently he's in space with the intergalactic Dominion of Wakanda, I think it's called, but it's basically Wakanda and M'Baku's rebellion against, I don't know. Like, I gotta tell you guys, the aliens in this, and some parts of this, look really like the aliens in Avatar, so I've just been calling it Black Panther crossed over with James Cameron's Avatar, because that's kind of what it feels like. That's not to say it's not a bad time. It's just not what I'm used to with Black Panther. But if you like a little sci-fi and your superhero stuff, Black Panther, you really can't go wrong with this right now. It's all right. If you like sci-fi stuff, it's pretty good. The last book we're gonna go over is Dial H for Heroes, and this is on the Wonder Comics line. The other one I can think of right now that's running is Wonder Twins, and I think Naomi is also Wonder Comics. So I've had the best time with all of the Wonder Comics stuff, and this one again, no exception. Dial H for Hero. I know the Hero Dial has been a thing in DC Comics history. I don't remember ever reading a Hero Dial book, so I didn't know what to expect, and this did not disappoint. I like the lore and where they're going with this. I like what they can do with the character. One of the things they do with it is the hero he becomes, he sort of blacks out and sort of, it looks like a very sort of 90s or even 80s kind of hero, and the scene changes to represent that, which I like that. That was pretty cool to see. The artist got kind of wild with it, which was great. Then on top of that, I think we saw that in one of the future comics they referenced, or one of the future advertisements they referenced that somebody might dial V for villain, and they mentioned the people in this issue, so I'm guessing that those are supposed to be his rival. I can't wait to see where they go with this. This feels like sort of, it has a very Shazam feel to it, a very kid sort of fun kind of book, and so I really don't think you can go wrong with any of these Wonder Comics lines right now, so go pick them up. And I guess that's going to wrap up our weekly showcase of comics. Sorry it's live this week. I don't know. We just had to rush everything out. Everything was late. We have plenty. Well, I don't want to say plenty. I don't want you to get comfortable if I say plenty. We have some copies of Detective Comics 1000. There is no telling how long they'll last because they're sort of flying off the shelves right now. So come in and pick them up while you can. That's all I'm going to say. So, bye.
Gonna do any dance, Steve? Dance? Dance? Okay. Sorry. Bye, guys. What's going on? Do the thing.